is your captain. Our mission. To chart the stars. I love this job.
What's it like to be called back to reprise the role of Pike and be a part of a whole series that tells the adventures of Spock and Pike on the USS Enterprise?
I've never had a fan reaction to anything like this. To see that many fans get behind the idea of a show like this, it means a lot to me as an actor, and it also means a lot to me as a Trek fan. Daughter agrees. It's also a tremendous sense of responsibility because this show is more than just a show to a lot of people.
What is it like to play a character that knows their end, and how do you see Pike in this series come to terms with that vision?
It's a unique type of fear that Pike goes through, and I think that a lot of people are assuming that the fear is a sort of self-centered one or an existential one. It's really a fear about how it's going to affect him as a captain and being responsible for the lives of hundreds of people that serve under him. That's really the question. And I think the writers have done a tremendous job tackling that question head on and making it not just something we deal with in the pilot, but part of the character's development throughout season 1.
How do you what are the challenges you face kind of creating something of your own, but still paying homage to obviously the TOS era as you play Pike?
Well, I mean, you get a sense of it as soon as you walk onto a set, and you see the tremendous job that our production designer, Jonathan Lee, does as he has merged that mid-century modern aesthetic from the 1960s, as well as the original, the 1960s sense of what was science fiction with our current sense of what is science fiction, our current aesthetic, and the much higher production values of modern television. How to balance all of those things, it's an ongoing project, an ongoing challenge. And, the sets, we still haven't stopped building. It continues to grow as the show moves forward. We're building out the Enterprise as much as possible. I can confidently say that this is the biggest Enterprise build out in Trek history.
Do you find that kind of investment is a bit of a big pressure on you playing Pike, or do you feel like you can be as creative as possible with the role?
Putting pressure on yourself doesn't really serve you that well. Your job as an actor is to show up and play in the sandbox.
You're stepping into this role of Spock, but now it's like an entirely new series. Talk to me about what's it like stepping back into the role as Spock, making it your own, but still paying homage, obviously, to the TOS series.
It's still really surreal to be playing this character, and enormously terrifying, quite frankly, because he's so beloved by Star Trek fans and television fans alike. And I have just been trying to be as sort of cautious and well-studied as possible. I've had to grow as a person, and I hope as an actor during this journey and along this process. So yeah, it's like the kind of the journey of a lifetime at this point. I feel incredibly grateful and fortunate to be where I am.
Spock, the history of Spock, obviously dates from the TOS. Spock has a first name, and there's a long mystery about that. Will we ever be able to hear it or get to know more about kind of like the history of Spock in that sort of regard?
I don't think that you'd be able to pronounce it or even understand it.
Probably not. I'm human after all, so probably not going to be able to. Thank you for that. What do you have creative freedom to be able to do something a little bit different? How do you try to keep it unique to itself, unique to Ethan, but at the same time, obviously paying tribute?
I just happen to be at this point in my life and this point in my development that I think lends itself to this iteration of Spock, where he is experimenting with his behavior between, human and Vulcan, how emotional to be, how rational to be in certain inflection points, where to be impulsive, where to be coldly logical. And, a lot of the work for me is done in the writing. I get the opportunity to play out these scenarios in which we haven't seen Spock before. And that's an incredible gift and an amazing thing to be doing. And I'm very grateful for that.
Perhaps we should kiss.
That seems logical.
So Jess, you and Spock, or Christine and Spock, actually have some romantic attractions in the TOS series. Does that same tension and bemusement between you and Ethan show in this new series? And if so, what can we expect?
Spoiler alert. Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to really speak to that. All I can say is that we exist together on the ship and etc.
Leave it to the imagination.
Yeah.
So every single Doctor in every single Star Trek series, obviously Phlox, there's Bashir, there's Crusher. They're all the Doctors play an essential part of the crew. There isn't a lot of history again with Mbenga. So what can fans hope to see revolve around Dr. Mbenga, and particularly what will you bring to Dr. Mbenga that everyone should be well prepared for?
Well, I will, I'll bring myself. I'll bring certain characteristics that I believe would serve me and my crewmates. And I think we'll try and keep him interesting. We'll try and keep him full, as in we'll get to see the panorama of his interior life.
Christina, you're the security chief on Noonien-Singh. Can you talk to us a little bit about your infamous ancestor or a little bit about your history as La'an?
So let's start off with the ancestor, because I think that's what the fans are wanting to know, whether or not she has the enhanced genetic abilities. We don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. But she does have. She has very similar traits to him in the way of the fact that she's very tactical. She's resilient. She's formidable. She's all these kind of like she's a fighter. She's good in war and combat. Yes. But emotionally, on a moral level, she's not, and so therefore, I feel it's been really fun to play, to have that that baggage, and to play off the fact that she's resisted, that she's resisted facing the her years of being judged for coming from that family line.
Melissa, you play Lieutenant Erica Ortegas. She's already kind of making a name for herself. She's making maneuvers. She's doing things. What big things, or what can we see as her story unfolds in Strange New Worlds?
So in a lot of ways, I feel like Ortegas is the fandom, in that she loves what Starfleet stands for. She loves what they do. And in so many ways, that's what Star Trek is, right? It's a hopeful adventure. So Ortegas is like this new character who's as excited as the fans are to be with this crew and with these legacy characters. And so I'm excited to learn more about Ortegas along with the writers as these seasons continue.
Celia, you play Cadet Uhura, and this is kind of like a part of Cadet Uhura that we have never been able to see. Obviously, taking what you see from TOS and paying homage. How are you making this role your own, though? And how is Uhura's kind of legacy kind of unfolding in this series?
I'm trying to bring to her just more humanity. I think something that Nichelle did that was incredible was that she pioneered the opportunity for Black women and femmes to represent themselves in roles of non-servitude. And so with that same energy, I am trying to continue to pass the torch of emotionally vulnerable, sometimes even occasionally scared and unsure Black women. We don't always have to be super confident and sure of ourselves all the time. We don't have to be aggressive and militant. We can be soft and scared and confused. And that is what I'm trying to bring. But I'm also trying to continue to pay homage to her brilliance and her charisma and and how captivating Uhura is as just a person and an entity on the Enterprise. And so I'm trying to balance all of that and also continue to humanize her and continue to share sides of her and colors of her that we haven't had an opportunity to see yet.
So when we last saw you on board Discovery during the Sphere takeover, we were hoping to learn a little bit more of Number One, who she is. So will we get to see more of Number One in her background, in the history in the series?
So it's been really fun to flesh out this character that existed, but that had not been developed yet. It's also a certain amount of pressure from the Star Trek fans who are very protective of canon and very protective of these familiar characters. I don't take that lightly. It's not my first time participating in a franchise and playing sort of a legacy character that you have to take care of. I feel like a caretaker, a custodian of this character.
Do you think that there is a defining moment for number one, or is she still kind of like fighting these insecurities, fighting this internal battle? And is her correlation with La'an something to be said about how she feels insecure about her own identity, kind of like the same way La'an kind of feels somewhat insecure about her own past as well?
I think that Una, she harbors this secret that she now has to share with the captain, who now has to also harbor the secret. And I think I don't think she's ashamed of her actual secret. I think she's ashamed that she knows that she's breaking the rules for Starfleet.
And do you feel like that ultimately causes this kind of like, not to say an insecurity, but it's almost like a conflict within herself, because she's trying to stay true to herself. And as an actor, how do you try to engulf that, envelop that, expand that in the series?
It's definitely going to play out as we see the storyline develop, and it's been really fun to play. When the writers first floated the idea to me, I was very excited to incorporate the layer into the character.
My last question: can you do the eyebrow thing? Yes, I love it.
My eyebrows are shaven right now. From what's left, that's what that little dash.
That made my day. Thank you so much, Ethan. Best of luck in the premiere May 5th.
Your presence is blasphemy.
Let's talk about this. Find some
I think that went well.